Hi, my name is Sagina Shabaya. I'm a career coach and I'm also head of talent and inclusion for an agency. I'm super excited to be here today and doing this panel looking at allyship and what white allyship really looks like in this day and age, especially with the current events that have been going on in the world in regards to the death of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. So today we've got a really awesome panel. I'm really excited to have them on board. I'm not going to do them a disservice. I'm going to let them introduce themselves each. We'll kick off with you, Jordan.
Hi everybody, my name is Jordan Jarrett-Bryan. I'm a journalist and broadcaster for Channel 4 News and also host of YouTube show It's All Blackademic.
Hi, I'm Maria McDowell. I work at formerly Publicis Group, and I am head of mentorship for Brixton Finishing School.
Hi, I'm Sara Axelbaum, and I go by Axel. I am the global head of inclusion and diversity for MIQ, and I am actually coming from the United States. I'm here in New York right now.
Awesome, thank you. I'm really excited to have you on board, especially Sara, because today, you can give us the best perspective on things, especially in and around this topic. So I just thought it'd be really great to kick off with a couple of questions, kind of lead the conversation today. And my first one for the panel is to sort of ask you, what are your thoughts on using the phrase and the word ally and allyship? And is this really the right term, and especially in and around white allyship? I'll kick off with you, Axel.
Thank you. Well, I would say that the term ally has kind of found its way into our lexicon in a way that I don't know if we can kind of roll back from, but I think that there's so much confusion as to what it means. And while everyone wants to proudly say they're an ally, I think what that means to individuals is a very large spectrum. And I've been kind of working on a new metaphor that, if you are showing up for the sports game and your team is all the way down and you're still cheering them on, does that make you an ally? Or, kind of going to the next level of, are you going to get other people into the stadium to root for your team and to really join the cause? And is that more of an ambassador? So I think that what I look at is kind of, while ally, I think is moved to a place where we can't necessarily run away from it, I think that we need to kind of put our arms around what can that mean in effect for individual people.
Yes, just to echo you, Axel, I think it is already in the lexicon, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. But I think it's a funny one, because I think if you were to ask anybody, they would probably say that they were an ally because they're not racist. But to me, an ally is somebody who is just a decent human being, really, who is not happy to just accept the status quo. And I think a lot of people who call themselves allies are happy with how things are, as long as there's not overt racism. And I think allyship is about recognizing that you have privilege, and making sure that you are okay to have potentially a difficult conversation. It's not always going to be all right or calming to be an ally. It's going to be difficult sometimes. And take that note, take that label if you are happy to go over and above and to have those conversations, is what I would term an ally.
Yeah, I would agree with both of those points. I feel ally is the best possible word we can use for what we're trying to describe as a group of people that stand by another group of people through thick and thin. It's not one that I think is the ultimately appropriate or the best term that I think we should be looking to use. There's a level of formality and professionalism that comes with the term ally for me. When I think of ally, I think of work colleagues, as opposed to, as you mentioned, they're just good people that think about doing the right things for everybody. So I think it's the best term we're going to get, and it is in our lexicon. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. But I think allyship is also about follow through. So it's about, not only will I stand with you and next to you in agreement with you on this now, I'm going to see that through with action, and I'm going to see the entire process through. I'm not going to just say, yeah, I stand with you. I'm going to physically stand with you throughout the whole process, which I think is very important as well.
So, are you able to share any sort of personal stories and insights where you've experienced allyship yourselves in regards to access to career promotions, opportunities, or just any other general matters that you've had, or if you've been an ally and felt it's had an impact?
I will share. I very recently, actually, I had a lady that I've met really recently, and I'm not working at the moment, and she was like, right, I'm going to introduce you to these people because I know that you're not necessarily, you don't necessarily have access to the networks that I have access. Not only am I going to introduce you, I am going to make sure that on a social level, you know, you are invited to these get-togethers and to these places and to these environments that you wouldn't necessarily have access to. To me, that is an amazing ally, because it's not just saying nice things. You are physically taking me with you. You're helping me from an economic point of view. And I think sometimes, some people who call themselves allies are happy to help people who aren't necessarily going to threaten them, you know. And true allyship is like, well, no, you're a woman. There's a sisterhood in the case of women, and I'm just going to help you because I want to help you and I can, and because this is not fair. I have access to this and you don't.
I've had so many examples of good allies. I'll just mention one, quite a recent couple of years ago, the Russia World Cup that happened 2 years ago. We had a new head of foreign at where I work, and the talk amongst managers and our editors was that, I won't name any names, but one of our lead presenters should go to that and cover that tournament for our program. The new head of foreign said, well, no, I think Jordan should go. Jordan is he's our sports reporter. He should be going. He doesn't have the profilers say X, Y, and Z, but he is our sports reporter. He will do a good job. He knows that field and that tournament, the competition. Why would he not go? And she fought for me to go against some resistance, against people that thought that other people, some of whom were white and more senior in terms of correspondence, should have gone. And she saw it through. She really put her neck on the block for me because she believed in my skill set. It wasn't even about me being black. It was, she recognized I was a sports correspondent. This was a sporting tournament. I believe you can carry this off. Go. And for any sports reporter, covering a football World Cup is huge. It was my first one. So that was an example of where a lady who isn't black backed me, believed in me, and saw the whole process through. She was refusing to be swayed by her senior, by her editor, about the decision. And that was an example, I think, for me, of someone who was an ally to me in that situation and scenario.
Amazing.
That's great. Yeah, I've been very fortunate that I've had a number of white men use their privilege to open up a door for me or to go to bat for me. And I view it as my job to pay that forward. So if I can get a door open, just a crack, it is my job to break that door open and break it down and bring as many people through that door as possible, because we all just make each other better when we're all in the room together.
100%.
Definitely. I really love those points. Something that you kind of touched on, Maria, and I think Jordan, is, you know, sometimes allyship can have some negative connotations, or, you know, especially for black people, you don't want a pity party. You know, you want to get ahead on merit and also the standing of your work. There's also been a lot in and around performative allyship. So I'd love it if you guys could tell me any of your thoughts and feelings towards that, especially, you know, most recently with the whole posting of the Black Square on Instagram and Blackout Tuesday.
It makes me angry. Because, you know, there's people who I work with or have worked with who I know they are racist, posting those black squares. And it just, there's a rage there, because I just think, this is just, and I think I'm sad about that, because it demeans the whole thing. And even, you know, people posting, oh my God, I've hired a black person, quick, LinkedIn, look, black people, you know, it's just, come on, there's so much more to be done. And there's so much more to racism than just posting a square or posting, you know, that you've decided to hire somebody, or, you know, it's it's more than that, and it makes me angry. But taking that power back, I know that myself and a lot of Black people that I know have just gone, look, we can't control that. That is whether somebody's going to be performative or not. I don't even know if some of that is performative, right? It's just my opinion on some of it. What I've done is gone, well, actually, I am changing how I am and how I show up to work, right? Which is that I am going to be unapologetic. I'm not going to shrink myself anymore. If I see something, I'm going to say it, because it doesn't do anything anyway to shrink yourself. You know, the misconceptions and the racist tropes are still going to be there, hidden, but it's going to be there. And so, yes, the negative is performative postings and stuff, but the positive has been that there is a real change, I think, that's happening.
Yeah, I agree. I actually look at those who posted that square and I think of them as you are now my mark, where I'm going to take a record of every single person that posted that black square. And when I am now looking for people to join my phone bank, to contribute to our community, to get out the vote, you're who I'm coming for. So if you posted a black square, I now have a list of people who, okay, you said you stand for this, now prove it and join me and let's actually do something and make action. So I hope that, you know, in the end, that while I might think that some is performative, that it can actually be a way of me identifying people that I can now go have an excuse to tap on the shoulder when I need them.
Yeah.
I think the element of being an ally, not having to be entirely positive, is important as well, because just because I stand with you on something, that doesn't mean that I have to necessarily agree with everything that you're doing. So I think being an ally is about being a good friend, and part of being a good friend isn't always telling your friend that they are great or they are always right. It's about saying, I stand with you, we're going to ride, but on this thing, nah, maybe that wasn't quite cool, or that wasn't quite right. That's also part of being nice. It's not just a blanket, blinded, you're always right in what you say. I expect my allies to call me out when I mess up and when I make mistakes. So I don't think we want allies that just bow to us and just say, I'm with you just through the good times. It's like, no, check me as well. I think performative activism and performative acts, again, as Maria says, you can't control that. I think you got to just control the controllables. So again, what am I doing? And the people that are in my immediate circles, I can control that. Everybody else, it is what it is. Regarding the black square, I didn't post it because I think we're at a time now where, I'm sorry, but when black men and black women are being killed and murdered, I don't think solidarity, I think we're past trying to feel good as a group. I think we need action. And yeah, everyone kind of went crazy about it, but I think we need action and black squares and hashtags. People aren't dying on social media. People are dying around the corner from where I'm living and in all over America and all over the world. I think now it's about actionable change rather than just, to some degree, performative social media. Look at me, look what I'm doing. I'm joining a group of people. We feel great. I'm sorry, but when people are dying, I'm past trying to feel great because we're in this together, because it's more than that for me.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And I love the fact that you've touched on actions, because it feels like that's where the narrative now needs to shift to. Like, yes, this has happened, this awful thing has happened. There is a lot of attention on all of this now, but what are people going to do? What are individuals going to do? And what are businesses going to do? The three of you all work in kind of different sectors, different industries. So it'd be really great if you could maybe share some insights or sort of thoughts about what these sectors could be doing to actually start taking action towards changing things.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, sorry, my industry, media. There's a whole lot of talk going on about diversifying the media. We need more black presenters, black producers, black CEOs, which is all true. But my thing on this whole diversifying of whatever industry is, in particular in my industry of media, they seem to make it a lot more hard than it needs to be. It doesn't need to be so hard. You look at your newsroom or your editors or your bosses, and you will see probably white people and mainly men. Okay, so that it's no coincidence that they're mainly white, and the people that are security guards or cleaners probably going to be black or foreigners. Now that you can't tell me that those black people aren't intelligent enough to hold these MD and CEO positions. That's not a coincidence. There's a reason for that. So it's about my industry creating pathways of opportunities for everybody to be able to be a CEO or an MD. Now, not everybody, black or white, will be capable or smart enough to be an MD, that's fine, or a CEO, that's okay. But it's about offering opportunities. So what's happening in my industry now is there's a lot more scouting of people to fill certain senior roles. I've been on so many newspapers, radio stations for the last 3 or 4 weeks, calling out some of those very stations that I am actually on and work for about the lack of black presenters, black producers, black reporters, black people behind the scenes. And I'm calling them out. I don't really care. And there is a slow shift coming within media to try and get more black people in senior roles of authority. It's happening very slowly, but I think my approach to it is I'm calling them out. And until we call them out and make them realize that this is the problem, this is the solution, it's not that difficult, I'm going to continue to speak up, continue to risk losing work, because I'm past caring about my money now. This is bigger than me. So in my industry in particular, as media, I think it's about us using our platform to call out people and hold them accountable now for what's quite clearly, for want of a better phrase, a whitewash of senior members of the industry.
Yeah. And I amen. I put my hand up earlier because I was going amen, not because I wanted to talk, but just in terms of kind of agency and ad land, I think, you know, the whole thing around HR practices in terms of hiring, because I know that there are HR practices in play already, but something's clearly not working. The fact that, you know, there's a bit of a whitewash. Okay, so that needs to be looked at properly. And when you hire somebody and you're interviewing people, properly benchmarking who's being interviewed, right? Because it's not working currently. The second thing I'd say is ethnic pay reporting as well. I think that needs to really be something that is pushed, because there is massive inequity there. And then the third thing would be weeding out Amy Coopers. So I'm not sure if people are aware of Amy Cooper. Was the lady who called the police on a black man in New York to because he asked her to do a simple thing, and she felt that, you know, she's actually going to call the police and threaten him, right, by saying he's a black man. And I think there are lots of colleagues. I mean, there's not one black female colleague that I know that hasn't dealt with an Amy Cooper, somebody who, oh my God, sent an email and I'm crying, you're aggressive, and, you know, everybody feels that they have to tone themselves up. I think dealing with that objectively and not, you know, jumping on the back foot and going, right, you are the aggressor, you need to sort that out. They need to clearly articulate and objectively investigate what is happening here, and not take that and white tears so seriously.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, I'm in New York, and it really resonated with me to watch that happen in real time. And I think it really kind of, you know, the Amy Cooper idea, you know, we look at it as, you know, I won't curse, but we used to say no a-holes. Like, let's not entertain the fact that we're going to keep people at our company who treat other people poorly. And I think, you know, especially being in advertising sales and on that side of things, it's so easy to hire the person that's going to treat other people poorly because they show good numbers. And we're taking a stance to say that that's not okay. You know, we need to look at real change. So, you know, we're looking at 3 different pieces. The first is introspection and really learning, making sure we're upskilling people to know not only what unconscious bias is, but how to really show up for people and how to take an active stance of defending people and calling people out so that we don't have any Amy Coopers there. And then we're looking at systemic change. So do we have equity? You know, we know we have a long way to go in hiring because of you know, so many factors. And we're going to be honest about that. And we're going to be acknowledging of the fact that we are in a place where we have a big gap to fill. And how do we make that a systemic and long running thing, not just kind of the drop in the bucket, but how do we really change things for the future? And then the last thing we're doing is, what can we do as a business to use our talents and to use our networks and to use our products to help our communities and to help really create sponsorship and a system where we contribute back and we pay back at all times. So those three components really are what kind of made up our plan for our response. And while we all wish we could have done it sooner, I'm glad that we're doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
That's really awesome, Axel. I can see that Jordan's got his
Sorry,
hand up. I think he wants to comment.
three super quick points. One, I found of all the horrific videos over the spring, the Amy Cooper one was actually the most revealing and the most interesting one of all of them. I found that the most interesting one. Secondly, further to an answer to your question, I think what we need is white people who look around their businesses to call it out as well. So I can call out white people and say, where are the black people in who are the bosses here? But I think that white people now need to say to their bosses, hang on a minute, this isn't right. But that comes with fear, because then there's an element, I've seen it in my office, there's an element of, well, we want black people to have jobs like we have, but that then means, do I get paid less? Do I lose my job? Am I then vulnerable? And you can understand that as human beings, you want to protect what you have, especially power. So I get why there's a reluctance from white people to call it out. And the third thing is there are 3 easy wins that I think here in the UK we can get between now and the end of the year that will change things dramatically at the back of the Black Lives Matter movement. 1, reform of stop and search. 2, reform of our curriculum in our schools. And 3, I would like there to be legislative laws that state that a Rooney Rule is in place in every business in this country. Now, for those that don't know what the Rooney Rule is, it's in America, the NFL, they have a rule where any job that comes up for a coaching role that comes up for any football team there, I believe it's at least 1 applicant has to be black.
Right.
I was very anti this for a long time, but now I can't see any other alternative. I would like there to be across industry, across business, a rule that says any job that comes up, there has to be X amount of women in that pool of candidates, X amount of black people in that candidates, and X amount of disabled people as well considered in that group as well. Those are 3 quick things I think we can change in the next 6 months. Stop and search, curriculum changes, and a Rooney Rule in business.
You just
You
got
are
me.
all giving, sorry, that's just me. You are all giving such great insight. So I was working as a career coach and doing things, especially in and around like talent acquisition and recruitment. I have been banging on about the Rooney Rule, because I also love NFL, so that helps. But I just think it's also just a simple change. It's a simple action that can be done. And, data and statistics show they did that for gender, in and around gender equality. There's another name for it, I've totally forgotten, might be the Johnson Rule or something like that. And they made sure that there were always women on the shortlist for interviews. It doesn't mean it's a pity party. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to get the job, but it goes back to having avenues of access and having that opportunity to put yourself forward. So I think that is awesome. I wanted to ask, oh yes, there's a hand. Axel.
Just a quick one. So on that note, I think it was Norway that specified you had to have a certain amount of women on boards, and everyone, the protest that you always hear is like, oh, well, are we going to water down our talent pool? And they actually found that businesses succeeded more with women on their boards. So I think that that's just a perfect example of the fact that, it doesn't have to be watered down at all for it to be really effective.
No, definitely. The last thing I kind of wanted to kind of touch upon before we kind of wrap up is to kind of get, there's this whole thing about it's white people, white allyship, white. How do you all feel about that? And especially, Axel, you are white on this panel, so it would be really great to get your personal insights and everything. But like, how do you feel about it being put on white people to be the allies? And is that more because, let's be honest, at the end of the day, they are still the majority in most businesses, in most organizations. They are still probably the ones who have that, seat, that seniority. So it'd be really great to get your insights on that. Axel, I'll kick off with you. And also, I don't know if it's different in the States, so if you can share anything about the US.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about the States, it's certainly intensified because so much of the video evidence of how awful things have been comes out of our backyards, and the protests are happening all around us and down our streets. And I think it's really important to say that, white people, we need to show up. I think that we've been sitting behind saying like, well, I haven't done anything terrible or really racist and stereotypically racist. So therefore I'm okay because I'm not racist. And I think, you know, going to the phrase being anti-racist and getting the concept for people to truly take action against racism is different than sitting on the sidelines and saying, well, I haven't done anything terrible, therefore I'm okay. And I think that that's really kind of I'm watching people have that awakening, which gives me hope for the future, that a lot of people who I felt like were either unreachable or just didn't care, suddenly they're stepping in and they're really actually taking action, and they're joining me on you know, this wall. You know, before they were like, oh, Axel, she's off doing her diversity and inclusion stuff, you know, that's cute. Like now they're like, what can we do, how can we help? And I'm so excited to see that passion, and all I want to do is figure out, okay, how do we harness that, make it so it's creating real effect, and make it so it doesn't stop and it's not just kind of the news cycle. It really just continues and moves forward. And I think it's important for us as white people to really kind of say like, no, it's time for us to actually step up and do work, because we have been sitting back for far too long.
Yeah, I think I was for a long time very uncomfortable with the idea of needing white people to do their bit to help this fight to rid racism of the world, because the needing white people implies that without them it's never gonna end. And I don't like the idea of relying on anybody for anything. I was of the mindset that, you know, us as black people need to control this, we need to fight it down, rare. But I've changed my mind a little bit since the whole movement of the last kind of couple of months, and seeing how many white people, as you mentioned, that sort of not only just been kind of passive as, oh, I'm not racist, that's enough, actually proactive in hitting the streets, hitting the socials, having conversations with their family members and their work colleagues about, no, this is what we need to do to change it. And I do think we need white people as allies in this fight for two reasons. One, it's their problem. So let's not forget that racism impacts black people negatively, but essentially it's your problem to fix. So we can't fix a problem that we didn't create. So I think that we do need them in that sense, because they're undoing the problem that they did. But also, I think those positions, people respond to people, I think, a lot of the time that look and sound like them. So if we want in institutions and industries the makeup of these businesses to change, I think there's a higher chance of a white senior in my building having a boss with the boss about change than maybe coming from me, because it may be perceived as angry or, you know, biased, or well, you would want change because you want to get a promotion. Whereas if the white woman who's an ally of ours says, no, actually, these are the reasons why we need to look at how we're working and change for the better, they're more likely to kind of get it. I feel. So I think those are the reasons why I have come round to the idea that we do to some degree need white allies. That doesn't mean that as black people take our foot off the gas in terms of keeping the pressure on, because we can't just say, okay, the white people are involved now, they'll fix it, and in 2 years' time we'll have equality. That's not going to happen. But I do feel like white allies are important for those reasons.
I agree 100%. I think just to echo your point, you know, white people have access. It's those conversations that are happening that we are not privy to, right? Which is
I don't play golf, or I don't go skiing, so I can't have those conversations. Sorry.
That's it. That's it, right? That you know, I can't fight a fight that I don't know is happening, right? So they're saying, you know, after the meeting, oh, that's a bit. It's for white people to be who are parties to those conversations to go, actually, that's not right. Or have you thought about this? Right, because I'm not even invited to those spaces or those conversations, and the work needs to be done. And as Jordan said, it is all of our problem. If you are in a culture where everything's white, then you don't have the mix there, you don't have the insight, you don't have the flavor and the seasoning that should be there, right? So you are missing out, even from an economical perspective and a cultural perspective, and you need to fix it. And there's only so much that you know, as Jordan said, you get you know, called aggressive, or it's yes, it's because, you know, playing the black card or the race card and all those things is what people think, whether they communicate that, or they say that out loud, that is what they think. And it's going to take white people to kind of go, wake up, you need to have those conversations. We're doing what we are doing, which is being awesome. You know, give us those opportunities. We're making our own opportunities, but you also need to kind of come. The bridge goes both ways.
And just to kind of go back to your very first answer, Maria, about being unapologetic about how you approach these issues, that's something I think as Black people we need to do. We need to stop caring now. We need to stop caring about what people think about us. We need to stop caring about, are we perceived as angry? That we need to be past that now. I don't care if you think I am angry. Actually, I am angry. How about that? I am angry. Do you know what I mean? I don't care what you think anymore. I think that's the energy now we need to be really pushing.
It's so hard though, Jordan, because when, like, even me, I was saying that on LinkedIn, I'm posting stuff, I'm going Black this, Black the other, you know, come on, diversity, Black Lives Matter, and I'm like, oh, I'm looking for a job now. Are people going to see my activity and think that I'm, you know, because when I went to university, one of the lecturers wrote as my personal statement that I am a strong member of the Black community. I had better grades than the majority of people in my class, and I was not accepted into loads of universities. The fear is there, and it's still there, and it's something that we need to talk about because it's going to impact on my family, and it's hard, and this is not a new thing, and we just need to talk about it, and just be brave and be strong. But I get a bit passionate.
I love the passion. Passion is good, and that's what we need. And like, guys, you've just given us such great insights and shared so many amazing stories. And what I wanted to do is just as a sort of final takeaway for our audience and those people viewing is just for each of you to give us kind of one action that, you know, you both listed kind of 3 really great points each about what companies can do, organizations and individuals. But for you, if we sit down this time next year, what's that one thing or one action that you'd want to see have happened? Jordan, I'm going to kick off with you. You look very
wow. I was thinking. Okay, so I think a simple thing I think everyone needs to do is two kind of things that overlap. One, educate yourself. I think you can't attack a problem with action until you really understand what the problem is. The whole White Lives Matter 2 thing shows me that you don't understand the problem. White Lives Matter in itself as a statement is true. White lives do matter, but this is not about saying that they don't. Understanding and educating yourself. Because once you understand, educate yourself, it then enables you to take action, which I just think is about checking people. I think the more of us that are checking each other and holding each other accountable, the closer we'll get to change. So I would say in terms of an actionable thing to do between now and next year, start speaking up and checking people. Say, no, those jokes don't run no more. No. Why is it that everyone on this table here is white? So checking people and asking questions of the people that can change things. That's what I would kind of say as a takeaway.
Yeah, I think I read 100% on that. I read an article day before yesterday on that there is a lot of internal work that people need to do, which is look at yourself. You know, am I feeling insecure about somebody else who's Black, and so I'm going to turn the other cheek and pretend I didn't see something happening? You know, it's introspection. Look at yourself, you know, and speak up, right? Because I think only then are things going to change. And be a decent human being. You see those things. You see them, be honest and call them out.
Yeah, and I'll go quick. I think those are great points that I was going to say. So I'll go with courage. I want to see people be courageous. I know that it's hard and it's uncomfortable. And I think a lot of people think that fear is a reason to not do something. But instead, I think people need to go into it and say, all right, this is going to be hard, but I'm going to do it anyway, even if it's uncomfortable, because the more you do it, the more comfortable it gets and the more we can really make a difference. So you just need to kind of stand up and do it anyway.
And spend with Black businesses. Spend with good Black businesses. If we can build up an economic power base, that is how Black people as a community will have a say at the top tables of politics and business. Find Black businesses that are good and spend with them.
And also, we are watching you.
Yes.
Yeah. Axel's got that list. She has a list of your name. So yes, we are watching you. Look, thank you so much. I want to say a huge thank you to Jordan, to Axel, and to Maria for the discussion today. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.